So what is it that you need as a woman to help you to get to where you want? It's all going to come down to your relationships. You're like, Cherie, what in the world? Why is it that I need to work on my relationships? Girl, because relationships, they are the spice of life, and they help you to have that vision, to kill it in your business, to do the thing that you want in your family, and girl, most of all, to do it for yourself. My name is Coach Cherie, and what I do is I help high-functioning women who are just like you, overcome the relationship patterns that threaten their calling, success, legacy, and life. And I help you discover your purpose and get crystal clear on your vision. And what I want to show you today is the top 3 things that I learned about how to create a relationship vision, for my life. So a lot of people, they don't even understand, first of all, that they need relationships. Girl, you are going to need relationships, and you're going to need them for 3 reasons. The very first reason you're going to need relationships is, number 1, is for transitions in life. That's right, when you have a transition in life. So what is a transition? A transition is when you have a baby and when your baby goes to college. A transition is when you move in a home, and a transition is when you make a decision to sell that home. A transition is when you start your business, and then another transition is when you're working on the business. And I know for me, I have needed people in my life. I remember years ago, I needed someone to help me to understand how to be married. When you come from a broken home, one of the best things that you can do is to get someone who has a successful marriage in their life to help you to understand how to have success in your life. I'm a marriage coach as well. I've been married for 24 years, and I know quite a bit about what not to do and then what you do. So you're going to need relationships for transitions. I needed help when I began to speak. I had to get help. I had to get a mentor. I had to get a business coach because I simply did not understand all of the fundamentals that came with running a speaking and coaching business. So you're going to need, number 1, relationships for transitions in life. Number 2 is you are going to need relationship for a crisis in life. Oh my goodness. I love what Brian Tracy says. Brian Tracy says that life is like this: problem, 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 crisis. Problem, 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 crisis. 100%. When you go through a crisis in life, that's not the time for you to be thinking, okay, now who is it that I call? You want to know who it is that you can call. And I remember years ago when my son was diagnosed with special needs, my biggest issue was that I was in a relational deficit. I did not know who to call, so I was scrambling. And then fast forward 15 years later, I had another crisis in life. And guess what? I had already done the work, and I knew exactly who my safe relationships were. I knew who could hold space for me, and I knew who to call. So when it comes to where you want to go and where you want to be, you are going to need people in your life that you can call in a crisis. And I ain't talking about them Instagram friends. I'm talking about the people who are on the inside of your phone, the 2 o'clock in the morning friends. So you're going to need relationships for crisis in life. And then number 3 is you're going to need relationships because we are not wired for disconnection. We are wired for connection. I'm going to say it again. Psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally, you are not wired for disconnection. You are wired for connection. I want you to think about it. There is no baby that has ever been born that's like, I got it. Don't worry. I'll get that milk. You guys don't worry about doing anything for me. I got it. I know what I'm doing. Said no baby ever. I think God is showing us something here that we came into this world needing people. When you go through life, you're going to need people. And in your later years, you're going to need people. Your life is going to need people. In Harvard, they have the longest standing study on relationships. And here's what they found. They found that people who have great relationships, they have better health. They are more fulfilled. They are more satisfied. Why? Because relationships are the spice in life. So what is the point of you having a goal and a vision and a dream if you have no one who you can share that dream with? The loneliest people are the ones who achieve it, but they have no one to share it with. And this is sharing it either with your family, your friends, and I mean, sometimes friends are family. I always say you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family. You get who you get. you're going to need people just because you're wired for relationships. So a lot of women, here's what they'll do. And this is just people in general. I don't think that this is just a women problem, but a lot of people, they will choose their relationships based on things that don't really matter. Like they'll choose their relationships based on personality, based on how the person looks, based on just politics, but they won't choose relationships based on where they want to go in life. Have you ever thought about that? You know that saying, you are the 5 people that you hang out with? And I tell people this, and they still stick with the same loser people. So you want to choose people based on where you want to go in life. So here are the top 3 things I want to tell you in order for you to create the kind of life that you want to have in your relationships. Is number one, it gets so simple that people always miss it. Are you ready? Are you ready? You got to decide what kind of relationships you want. Have you ever thought about that? Decide what kind of relationships you want. Here's what happens. I did not say to decide what your family wants, to decide what your friends want, to decide what the haters want. No. When it all comes down to it, when it comes to the relationships that you're going to have for your own life, because it is yours, you've got to decide what you want. Because when you don't even know what you want for your relationships, you'll settle for what you think you can have. I'm going to say it again. When you do not know what you want for your own relationships, girlfriend, high functioning, highly capable, incredible woman, you will settle for what you think you can have. You'll settle for an unavailable man. You'll settle for friends who gossip. You'll settle for people who talk about you. You'll settle for people who use you, abuse you, misuse you, and all the use. Now, how do I know? Because I've been in that position. Years ago, this was like a nightmare ago. I was in a domestic abuse relationship. And here's why. The reason why you get into a relationship with someone who abuses you is because inwardly you're abusing yourself. Because there's no way that you're going to allow someone to treat you less than the way you believe you should be treated when it all comes down to it. Now, I'm not throwing shame on someone or shade on someone, but I had to do a lot of work on the inside. And now people treat me the way I treat myself. So is somebody just going to come up randomly and disrespect me? Maybe. But as a general rule, the people who are around me, they respect me. My spouse respects me. He loves me. Here's the thing, because I've learned how to value my own self and to value my voice. So you've got to understand what kind of relationships that you want. Where is it that you want to go? And what relationships are going to support you and where you want to go? Why would you be hanging out with people who are drugging and thugging and drinking and getting drunk if that's not where you want to go? You get to make a decision. Like, you're not a fly. You're not a cow. You're not a bird. They will only ever be a bird. But have you ever thought about this? Human beings are the only ones who can create the version of themselves that they want. Now, I'm not talking about like people who have like serious illness or like a super serious crisis in life. But listen, like if you're living in America, like give me a break, and you're like 45, like you can invent the version that you want instead of settling for what you think you can have. And that's what so many people do. They settle for the friends they think that they can have. Well, Cherie, how do I attract those people? Girl, you got to be one of those people. You have to make a decision to be one of those people. Well, what do I do? I don't know, like read a book. You can read a book. Well, I don't have money. Did you know that you can go to the public library and you can get a library card for free? So there is no excuse for the ignorance and the poor decisions and the bad behavior. Now, books are a great start, but you don't want to finish with books. You want to start with books. So you want to enlarge your mind and enlarge your thinking. So that's my very first way for you to create the relationship you want, romantic, family, friends, or otherwise. What is it that you want in your relationship? Don't deal with Mr. I don't know. I don't want to say Mr. Broke Buster, but don't deal with a man who's going to treat you like with disrespect if that's not what you really want. Be willing to cut that off as soon as you can. So number 2, the second thing that most women need to do when it comes to creating the relationship is, are you ready for it? Like, this is so simple that you're going to be like, Cherie, why didn't I think of that? I don't know, girl. How about this? Number 2, write what you want for your relationships. Like, I say the same thing over and over. Write what you want for your relationships. Write it down. Write down a relationship vision statement. Oh my gosh, like isn't that like so simple? I try to make things as simple as possible. Why am I saying that? Like, why am I just saying stuff? Girl, just be writing some stuff down. No, that's not Shariology. It is educational psychology. It is. So the late Edgar Dale, Ohio professor, here's what he created, the cone of experience. So don't quote me on this, but I think we remember like 10% or 20% of what we read, 50% of what we say and discuss, 70% of what we write, 90% of what we do. So I want you to think about this. 20% of what you read, 50% of what you say and discuss, 70% of what you write. So here's a principle. What you look at, what gets in your eyes, goes into your mind. What goes into your mind, it goes into your heart. What's in your heart is in your soul. And what's in your soul is now embodied. I think it's called neuropsychoimmunology. It's embodied in your entire life. So when you write it, you're more likely to experience it. I'm going to say it again. When you write down your relationship vision, you're more likely to experience it. This is why the dating relationship coaches, which that's a whole nother thing. I'm so confused. Like, how can you be a dating coach or relationship coach and you ain't got nobody? Like, I would not listen to anyone telling you how to get a relationship if they don't have anybody. Anyway, so they tell you to like write down like what are the attributes and the character and the qualities of this person that you want to be with. And if it's not romantic, how about your business life? Like, what kind of people do you want to hang around with? Do you want to hang around people who roll around in the bed all day, get up and smoke weed, go to bed drinking alcohol? Absolutely not. So you want to write it down. So how is it that you can begin to write a relationship vision statement? Well, it's very simple. Answer 3 questions. What kind of character do they have? What kind of value do they possess? What kind of fruit do they grow? I'm going to say it again. What kind of character do they have? What kind of values do they possess? What kind of fruit do they grow? And this is really important because there is this scripture that says bad company corrupts good behavior. You know what good company does? It elevates your behavior. It's going to take you to another level. And this is something that I had to do in my own life. I had to make a decision to pay money to be in a mastermind. Why? Because I want to elevate my life. I had to pay money to enter into a coaching community because I want to elevate my life. I had to make a decision to get a mentor. Why? Because I want to elevate my life. If you're not where you want to be in your life, it's because of your relationships in life. If you're not where you want to be in life, it's because of your relationships in life. So I want you to write a relationship statement. And I want to just give you my relationship statement for this current area of my life right now. So here's what it is. I see myself with women who are challenging, empowering, and collaborating. I'm going to say it again. I see myself with women who are challenging, empowering, and collaborating. And can I tell you something? I am around amazing people who are challenging. Right now, my mentor, like, he's not a woman, he's a man, but he is challenging to the core. He's like, you do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. Do it anyway. So you want to be around people who challenge you and make you uncomfortable. You want to be around people who are empowering you, Cherie. And then you want to be with people who collaborate. So that's my statement. So my challenge to you today is that you need to write your own separate statement. And then the next thing that you need to make sure that you do as far as relationships, and let me just review. So what was the very first thing I said? Number 1 is you got to decide what kind of relationships you want. Number 2, decide to write a vision statement, a relationship vision statement. And then number 3, this is so simple. Like, I'm like, should I even say this? It's so simple. Did you know this? This is just like a philosophical point. The highest version of you. It's the connected you. I'm going to say it again. the highest version of you. It is the connected you. There are so many people who are like, I want to be the highest version of myself. I want to be like my most authentic self. I want to like get into myself. And I'm like, great. But did you know that the highest version of you is the one that's connected? And I always say this, I am not born to be the independent woman, because there is no award for like, I did it all by myself. Oh, wow. Like, look at you. We're not in kindergarten anymore. You want to be interdependent. Now, why is that? Well, remember what Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay, highly effective. So anytime that someone is effective, you want to pay attention to what they're saying. And what he writes in that book is about interdependency, is that what happens is that you have people who help you with your weaknesses and level you up on your strengths. And you do the same thing for others, because we learn from one another. You learn through relationships with people. So that's why living like the monk lifestyle, I don't agree with it. That might not be popular, but hey, like, I'm the one who's talking here. And here's why. Because you can learn a lot about yourself when you're by yourself. So there's times of solitude and then there's isolation. So I'm not saying that you don't need solitude 100%. I remember during COVID, like my thing was I went to the restroom. Like, that was my safe place from my family. And I got memos for like Cheetos and goldfish under the door. My kids were like, "What are you doing, Mom?" I'm social distancing. So I'm not saying you don't need time for solitude. 100%, you're going to need solitude, but just not isolation. And the way we learn is we learn from people. You know, when you were born, you weren't born getting it all done by yourself. There's no self-made man and no self-made woman. No, you learn by mirroring. You mirror behavior. This is where you learn how to be socially acceptable. And it's through relationships and interdependent relationships that you really grow. So all you introvert people, you probably need to balance that out with a few extroverted people. All you people who are super organized, you need to get around someone who's creative, because you don't want to be always around the same person. You want to get around different people so that you can learn and grow. And really, that is the best version of you. The best version and the highest authentic version of you is the connected you. It is the connected you, not the disconnected you. Listen, I love you. I 100% believe in you. And I just want to recap what I've talked about today about why you need relationships and you need to create a relationship vision. Remember what I said. So number 1, you're going to need relationships in life. Number 1, for transitions. When you start your business, when you get that new home, when you move to a new city, there's nothing like knowing someone who can help you along the way. Number 2, you're going to need relationships for a crisis in life. Well, Cherie, you're being negative. No, I'm being positive. In this life, you will have trouble. But you're going to need people around you to help you in that trouble. And number 3, you're going to need relationships because you're not wired for disconnection. You're wired for connection. Have you ever been around someone who's around themselves for too long? They're weird. People who are alone all the time, they're weird. I'm just saying, they're 100% weird. And then what were the 3 ways that you can really get to where you want to go in your life? It's by creating a relationship vision. Number 1, decide what you want. When you don't decide what you want for your relationships, honey boo boo, you're going to settle for what you think you can have. And over-functioning, high capacity, high capable women, listen, you are so used to being in charge of everybody else's life. But when it all comes down to it, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take charge, write down what you want for your own life. What kind of relationships do you want? And don't think about, well, this person's going to think this, but what are you going to think in the future when you recognize that you had all of these relationships and all of these people around you who drained you of energy instead of being with people who give you energy? My goodness. Number 2, you want to write down your relationship vision. Now, why is that? When you write it down, it gets in your eyes, goes into your heart. It is embodied into your soul, and then you live it from your life. When you write it, you're more likely to experience it. When people write down their goals, I want to make $1 million. I'm making $1 million or 2 million or 10 million, they're more likely to achieve their goals. That comes from goal theory. And then number 3 is that the highest, most authentic version of you, guess what? It's the connected version of you. You're not going to get anywhere you want to go by yourself. And I know for me personally in my own life, I think you can hear the conviction in my voice. There is a difference when someone just talking to you from a script and when they're talking to you from a real life. And what made the biggest difference for me in being able to speak, to communicate, to empower, to lead, to be the high functioning, high capacity woman that I am, the kind of woman that gets it done and empowers other women, you know what it was? It was relationships. It all comes down to relationships. Listen, I love you. I believe in you. I'm praying for you. If you want to connect with me, you can visit me at my website, www.coachcherieonline.com. And here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to just think about taking action. I want you to take what I've said today, and I want you to start taking action. I love you. I believe in you, and I'll see you soon.